Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Melissa Fogarty and I'm the Assistant Dean for Management Master's Programs at the Yale School of Management. I'm joined by my colleague Joanne Legler, who's the Director of Admissions for the Management Master's Program, including the Master of Advanced Management, which is the program that we're going to talk about on today's webinar. We're going to talk about the Master of Advanced Management, or MAM program, and introduce you to the program and some specifics about it. Also introduce you to the Yale School of Management more broadly, Yale University, and the Global Network for Advanced Management. We'll start with a brief presentation where we talk about the program, and then we'd be eager to answer questions that you have about the program. So within Zoom, you'll see a chat function, and I encourage you to start entering your questions in that chat function. And after we complete our presentation, we'll go through and answer as many of those questions as we can in the time allows. So we have a lot to cover in the next 45 minutes, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the Master of Advanced Management program is a one-year program for exceptional MBAs from Global Network for Advanced Management schools. The program is entering its 7th year, and it's a full-time in-residence program here in New Haven with one intake each year in August for a class that graduates in May. And you see in front of you the class of 2019, which just started with us in August of this year. This incredibly diverse global cohort represents 32 different countries of citizenship and 23 different global network schools. Truly, they bring a wealth and variety of experiences and global perspectives that enrich the classroom here at Yale. And in turn, they take advantage of the unmatched resources that Yale University has to offer. A large part of why MAMs choose to come and spend a year at Yale is that they're motivated by the mission of the school. The mission of Yale SOM is to educate leaders for business and society. That means that we are looking to educate leaders who are able to think broadly about the complex problems that business leaders face today and will face tomorrow, and to think critically about the various stakeholders who are affected by the decisions that they make. In support of our mission, we have 3 key strategic objectives that help us to put that mission into practice. You see those objectives before you, and they are to be the business school that is most integrated with its home university, Yale University. And that means that MAM students, when they come here, can take advantage of the resources of Yale SOM and also of the resources of Greater Yale University, networking with peers across the university and taking courses throughout Yale. We also seek to be the most global U.S. business school in ways that are differentiating and meaningful. And the presence of our MAM population on campus with the wealth of global experiences that they bring and the global pathways that they take as alumni working all over the world after they graduate truly enrich the global nature of the Yale School of Management. And finally, we look to be the best source of elevated leaders for all sectors and regions. What this requires is that our mission requires us to do much more than teach you the basic business fundamentals that you could learn in many places, but instead to think critically and from multiple perspectives at the different problems that you will face as a business leader, and to think about the multiple stakeholders who are affected by those decisions with an eye to both business and society. I'll speak a bit about the Global Network for Advanced Management. As I mentioned at the outset, the MAM program is only available to MBAs from Global Network for Advanced Management schools. And the Global Network is a keystone of the global strategy at the Yale School of Management. The network is a collaboration among 30 top business schools around the world, coming from both established and emerging economies, who come together to provide a variety of resources and opportunities for the communities within those schools. I'll highlight a few of those opportunities for you and different ways that we connect across the global network, in addition to providing the opportunity that the Master of Advanced Management provides. One way that our students choose to connect is through Global Network Weeks, where students are able to travel from their home school to one of the other Global Network schools and spend a week studying alongside local professors and students, learning about a topic of local area expertise. We also have Global Network courses, and these These allow students to connect virtually, taking a course from a professor at another global network school. We come together for a variety of opportunities, including our faculty collaborating on creating raw cases, through case competitions like the Integrated Leadership Case Competition, through research projects such as studies that the Global Network has done in sustainability and the role of women in the workforce, and also providing opportunities like the Master of Advanced Management for MBA students. Another key reason, in addition to our mission and strategic objectives, why MAMs come to spend their MAM year with us here at Yale is they're interested in the incredible depth and breadth of the coursework that they can take during their year here. So if you think about your own situation, you may be currently finishing up your MBA or recently completed it, and perhaps in one of your courses you discovered an area of particular interest and passion for you, and it's an area where you'd like to dive deeper, perhaps taking some advanced electives, or you might be inspired by some of the faculty here at Yale and be interested in doing some study and research alongside them. Conversely, you might want to take the opportunity of your studies here at Yale, and the majority of your time here is electives, to take courses that broaden your experience in your MBA program, to challenge yourself by studying new regional topics, new topical areas of interest, taking courses across the university in disciplines you may not have had the opportunity to study yet, and you might want to use your time at Yale to do that. When students graduate from their MBA program within the Global Network and from the MAM program at Yale, they graduate with two powerful networks and two brands. And these networks stay with you for a lifetime. You're an alum of two top business schools in the world, and you can use that throughout your career to make connections and through your job progression. In addition, you're well positioned for a global career, having lived, worked, and studied in multiple different countries. And also, you're joining a community of purpose, having studied in a very mission-based university alongside peers who are equally drawn here by our mission and strategic objectives. We'll talk a bit more about the MAM curriculum, which is anchored by three elements. We have a Global Leadership Big Issues course, which is taken by all MAM students. And what this course does is it brings together leading thinkers from across Yale University who bring our MAM students together with their various perspectives and expertise to talk about the pressing issues that are facing society today, the macro trends, and the resulting business implications of those macro trends. The second course that all MAM students take, you'll see it called Leadership. The official title is Global Leadership, Increasing Personal and Interpersonal Effectiveness. And this course is focused on the self and interpersonal relationships and how through interactive workshops and guided peer-to-peer learning, you can really focus on enriching and expanding your leadership capacity. Third and finally, we have a colloquium speaker series that is specifically for our MAM students, where we bring together leading thinkers and speakers, prominent individuals from around the world, often with suggestions from our MAM students. We bring them to campus for candid conversations with our students, allowing our students to learn from them. So just as two examples, next week we'll have two colloquia speakers with our MAMs. We'll have Governor Bill Richardson, and then we will also have a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Jerry White. The majority of your time in the MAM curriculum is comprised of electives, and this is where students can truly curate their intellectual journey and choose the courses that will best complement their academic experience to date. So students have the ability to choose over 100 different electives available within the School of Management, but then they can also choose the over 1,000 electives available across Yale University, truly allowing you the opportunity to curate your intellectual journey. So I'll give you some examples of some popular electives that our MAM students have chosen in the past. Our students have taken courses at the School of Management like negotiations, competitive strategy, thinking about management of software development or international entrepreneurship. And then at the broader university, it's very popular for our students to look into taking foreign language classes or classes at the drama school like our visual storytelling class. I think it's easiest to imagine what a curriculum might look like by looking at some examples. And so here we've given you 2 members of the MAM class of 2018 that just graduated in May. First, we'll start with Afik, who came to us from Hitotsubashi. And you can see an example of the curriculum that Afik crafted while he was here. So some examples, he took courses in mastering influence and persuasion, in financial distress, managing global catastrophes, for example, at the School of Management. He also took a course at Yale Law School in citizenship and crisis, and took courses in anthropology, European and Russian studies, and global affairs. A second example is Malika, who came to us from NUS, the National University of Singapore. And Malika took several courses at the School of Management, focusing on problem framing and customer insights and behavior, competitive strategy, the invention of desire. She also took one of the most popular courses at Yale University last year, which was Psychology and the Good Life. And at the School of Drama, she pursued visual storytelling. An important part of your academic experience is not only studying alongside your incredibly diverse MAM cohort, but also thinking about the various other programs that are here at the School of Management and the students that you'll be meeting and networking with and studying alongside. So I do provide you here with an overview of the different programs at the School of Management. And in your elective courses at the School of Management, you'll be studying alongside all these students. So we do have a full-time 2-year MBA program that brings in about 245 students each year. We have an MBA for Executives program, which is a part-time MBA for professionals who have more years of work experience. And they are studying alongside one of 3 verticals, which are asset management, sustainability, or healthcare. They bring about 75 students to campus each year. We have our MMS, or a Master of Management Studies, which has 2 different tracks. There's an MMS in systemic risk that brings central bankers from around the world to campus to study issues of macroprudential policies and systemic risk, and they have 12 students this year. There's also an MMS in global business and society, and that brought 32 students to campus this year. Those students also come from Global Network for Advanced Management schools, but instead of coming from MBA programs like you, they're coming from Master in Management or equivalent programs. And finally, we do have a selection of PhD programs on campus. So I'll pause for a moment. I'll turn things over to Joanne, who's going to tell you a bit more about life outside the classroom.
That's great. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm pleased to tell you that you're not going to be spending all of your time in the classroom and studying, although it's going to be a huge portion of the time that you spend here. We do want you to come and experience life as a Yale SOM student, as a Yale University student, as a member of our community here in New Haven. So outside of class, we do offer opportunities for you to get pretty deeply involved in things like government. We have our own student government here at the School of Management, and an opportunity for you to represent your MAM cohort to the rest of the government and to really speak on behalf of your current fellow students in the MAM program. You may also wish to be elected as an MAM student senator to the larger university, the graduate student government at Yale University, giving you a great opportunity to intermingle and connect and network with students from all over the other professional and graduate school programs here at Yale University. Before, Melissa had mentioned the Integrated Leadership Case Competition, which might be something you already know a little bit about, or perhaps you're even thinking about getting involved in this year. So another really cool opportunity to pull a team together to compete in a friendly way and learn a little bit more, not only about your classmates, but a little bit more about how other students from other countries are thinking about tackling a particular business problem. At Yale, there's always something going on, and sometimes our students actually suffer from figuring out sort of how to do everything all at one time within a relatively short period of time, less than a year. We do hope that you'll get involved in, again, some of the fun stuff. We have over 50 different clubs and organizations for you to join here at the School of Management. One of those, as you can see pictured here, would be the hockey club, which can be a really fun thing for students who have never skated before, never really spent any time in an ice rink before. A great way to bring the community together, doing something really fun that might be new for you. Other sports teams include things like the soccer club or the ski and snowboard club. You may instead, or as well, want to take part in another type of case competition to pull a group together to compete. Maybe you might even win a little bit of money while you're at it. You may also wish to know that we have a ton of conferences that take place at the School of Management, and particularly in this building here, which is where we live in Evans Hall, whether it's the Healthcare Conference, the Education Leadership Conference. Those are pretty annual conferences for us that students are particularly involved in and almost completely involved in planning, leading, and executing on a yearly basis. So whether it's something that you have a particular passion for, perhaps like healthcare, education, something around sustainability, or something that might be quite new for you, again, these are great ways to explore and a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that as Yale and as a School of Management, we manage to bring really top-level, high-quality speakers to campus to further everyone's understanding on those particular topics. We do have some fun. The MAM program in particular spends a lot of time celebrating one another's cultures, where they come from. We do a lot of this through food, as you can imagine. So this is a great photo here of what we do here at SOM now on a yearly basis. This is a picture of Friendsgiving. So you may have heard of the American traditional holiday called Thanksgiving. We celebrate that at the end of November. That's maybe new to some of our international students, of which, of course, the MAM program is made up of almost exclusively. So we offered an opportunity here to introduce our MAM students and our international students across Yale SOM to this really unique American tradition, which, of course, is centered quite a bit around food. And this is just one table of many that was scattered around the building during Friendsgiving last year. And then, of course, football. American football is a pretty big tradition at most American colleges and universities. Here's a fun picture of students tailgating, which is a fun party that students will go to prior to the start of a football game. As you can see, it's usually pretty chilly here in New Haven around that time of year. So lots of hats and scarves and jackets and, of course, food. Our students do participate in a lot of, again, fun activities. This is a really fun team bonding, team building experience that students go through during orientation. And our students really do make a commitment to each other and relationships and friendships that certainly will last a lifetime. This is the beginning of what we consider to be a powerful, fun, engaging, and lifelong community and network of peers. Again, there's always something going on at Yale. So in addition to all of those wonderful activities and fun things, we are blessed and really excited to be able to bring high quality, high level, world-renowned speakers to Yale SOM. So here's a terrific picture of our dean, Ted Snyder on the left, and Joe Tsai, who's an alum of the university, and talking, kind of casually, but what you don't know is that this is to an audience of probably about 300 people. But having an opportunity to speak one-on-one with world leaders, business leaders, and really bring that to our students in a very intimate setting is something we feel really excited to be able to do for our students. In addition, we bring our alumni back to campus all the time. So here's a terrific picture of one of our professors, Amy Wisniewski, and alumna Indra Nui from PepsiCo, unfortunately departing PepsiCo. I'm sure that she's got wonderful things ahead of her, but she's been CEO of PepsiCo for a long time, and we're excited to bring her back fairly often, in fact, to come to speak to our students. And then I was really lucky enough just a couple of days ago to be part of the audience for this special event here. We brought in His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, to talk to our students. And one of our MAM students, Rahina Garba from the University of Ghana, was lucky enough to present him with a gift alongside one of our professors, Elijah Paintsill. So again, a packed auditorium of 300 plus people, a couple of overflow rooms with about 200 people all coming together to have the chance to sit in the same room with a respected world leader to talk about the African continent, Ghana specifically, and what's kind of going on there, the things that they face in terms of challenges, economic development in the region and on the continent. What a wonderful opportunity for our students to hear firsthand from somebody who has such an amazing and important job in our world economy. And again, I think it's really important to understand how much of the Yale experience is going to be part of your MAM experience. So we'll just float through some really pretty pictures of the Yale campus to try to give you a sense of what it is like here. I mean, obviously we're taking these pictures on really nice days, but it really does paint a picture for you, hopefully, of what it feels like to be part of Yale University, to be part of the experience here, not only in the classroom and through all of our activities, but to have the chance to walk through one of the United States' oldest universities, universities here in New Haven, Connecticut. You'll be able to walk our grounds, you'll be able to study in our libraries, you'll be able to listen to concerts, to be able to go to drama performances. There's so much going on at Yale. And I think the one thing that I've learned from our students over the last couple of years is how much they really value that Yale experience, to be part of the university and to be here and study alongside people who will eventually be leaders in their field. Just feels like such a privilege for them. And so our advice to you is to, of course, take advantage of as much of all of this as you can and really become part of the Yale community so that when you graduate, you can feel like you took advantage of every opportunity while you were here that you possibly could. So eventually you will have to leave Yale University after your graduation, and you're probably wondering what happens afterwards. And we'll spend a little bit of time talking now about what careers our students tend to pursue and what that looks like for them. So this is a good place to start. The class of 2017, which graduated, about a year and a half ago now, will have more updated information about the class of 2018 in a few months. But as you can see, where did they end up? Geographics is a good place to start. Where do they end up in the world? And many of them did end up here in the US, but as you can see, many pursued global careers outside of the US as well. So this is sort of telling one part of the story where students may choose to find a career or find a job immediately post MAM. And the next slide tells a little bit of a different story. We recently surveyed a group of alumni, and the feedback from our alumni in this class of this 2018 survey indicated that while students may start out in the US, they actually prefer to have a global career. And so while the US may be a great stepping stone to something else, they may not stay here for very long and instead are actually pursuing the whole time careers that will take them elsewhere, whether it's back to their home country, whether it's back to have an opportunity to consider careers in other locations around the globe. So this is a really nice visual, I think, of where you can tell students are perhaps starting out, but then where they end up later on is probably not here in the US, even if they spend a little bit of time here immediately post MAM. From an industry and function perspective, we have a pretty diverse group here. A lot of students are ending up where our MBA students are ending up. MBAs here at SOM, and perhaps some of you that are out there pursuing an MBA right now, where you're thinking about or where you expect to end up from a career perspective. Excuse me. Technology and consulting are fields, industries, functions where students are, again, from an MBA perspective, probably pursuing anyway. And that's true for our MAMs as well. And you can see that, again, in an industry perspective, technology continues to be, as it has for the last couple of years, the leading industry that our students are pursuing, and consulting is the leading functional area that students are pursuing. So this lines up pretty well with our MBA students as well, and again, may line up with your own expectations as MBA students at schools throughout the global network. Thankfully, the School of Management has wonderful relationships from a career development office perspective with companies that you probably recognize, companies that you may be pursuing yourself as an MBA, perhaps companies that you've even come from pre-MBA. So this is just a small sampling of the many organizations that we're lucky enough to have terrific relationships with, who continue year after year to source talent from the School of Management here at Yale. And what we're really lucky about is that these relationships continue from year to year and allow those employers to come back knowing what kind of talent they're getting. Oftentimes the recruiters that come back to source their talent from the School of Management are alums themselves. They know the quality of students that they're getting, and so they come back here constantly to offer opportunities for jobs and internships for MBA students, MAM students at companies that are certainly world-renowned, but sometimes smaller companies as well, many of whom have either global headquarters outside of the US or smaller companies in other locations around the world. So wherever geographically, or again, kind of from a company perspective, your career might take you, you can feel really good that the Career Development Office has established these terrific relationships over the years that you can count on having access to recruiters from those companies. And the effect on the career from a salary perspective is important to consider as well. So while hopefully this isn't the driving force, perhaps for some of your job searches, it is certainly something to consider, particularly if you're thinking about the cost of the MBA, the cost of the MAM, where do I end up with from a salary perspective. So as you can see, the news is good. Post-MAM, our students are earning a salary that is significantly higher than what they were earning prior to their MAM, or maybe for some of them that means even prior to their MBA. But the the numbers go up, and so we really do feel like the MAM itself as a degree offers value in your career, not only for what you may want to do or globally where you may want to end up, but from a salary perspective as well. Even more importantly for us, though, what we found in this survey, which I thought was really fascinating, was that students weren't citing salary as the most important effect on their career post-MAM. Instead, overwhelmingly what they were saying was that this opportunity, this degree, this experience truly helped me to find what I'm passionate about and what I feel like is my true calling in my career or in my life. So for me, that's even more powerful than perhaps a boost in salary or the opportunity to transition to another role or be more effective, but that the impact of the experience really was, hey, I found what I really want to do with my life. Some of us search for that for our whole lives. So knowing that our students had that opportunity here and took this away from their experience here made me feel pretty good seeing the results of this survey, and I think really underscored the impact of being at a mission-driven institution like the Yale School of Management. Overall, our students and alumni are incredibly satisfied with their experience here. So we're really happy about this outcome, of course, that students feel like this was well worth their time, well worth their money. So serving our alums and having this really positive outcome of the alumni survey, where our alumni were saying, I'd do it again. Oftentimes, students who come to the program are referred from alumni from past years. So overwhelmingly, 3/4 of our students are saying they are extremely satisfied with their experience here. So I'm hoping this sounds good to you at this point and is something that you're considering seriously, or perhaps if you were casually considering the MAM up to this point, that our presentation up to this time has convinced you that this is something that you may want to pursue. If that's the case, and I hope that it is, you may then be wondering about next steps in the application process. So as a director of admissions, I'm very happy to talk about this. The first part of this next slide here is the basics. What do I have to do to actually submit an application to the Yale School of Management MAM program? These are probably things that you saw from your MBA application, or you're seeing now if you're considering applying to an MBA program in the global network. So none of this should come as a big surprise. We do, of course, have an online application. We'll require transcripts not only from your undergraduate studies, but from your MBA studies as well, whether those are past because you're an alum or in progress because you are a current student. We do require an entrance exam if you had to provide one for your MBA application. That may be the GMAT, the GRE, or there may be some country or school-specific entrance exams that you have results from, and you would go ahead and forward those to us. We will need a letter of recommendation from a professional source, so somebody that you used to work with, perhaps a former employer or a former supervisor. Again, this may be somebody the same or similar to what you used to apply to your MBA program. We also need a letter of support from the dean or director of your school if you're a current student, confirming that you remain in good standing, and if you're a former student or alum, confirming that you graduated successfully from the program and were in good academic and social standing while you were there. There is one unique feature to the MAM application at the Yale School of Management, which is video questions. So hopefully this doesn't scare anybody. This is actually kind of a really unique feature of the program that we really enjoy viewing. It's an opportunity for you through a video recording system that's very easy to use to tell us a little bit about yourself and for us to understand a little bit about your communication skills, your ability to answer questions in a relatively short period of time. Shouldn't take more than about 15 or 20 minutes to complete this portion of the application, and it does rely on you first paying the $100 application fee, and then you'll have access to your video questions. After that, we will start to evaluate and read applications from interested applicants, and some of you will be invited to interview with our staff. Unfortunately, we aren't able to interview everybody who applies for admission, but if you are selected for an interview, you'll be interviewed by Skype or Zoom or some other online format to give us an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper into your application, your interest in the program, and of course, answer any questions that you might have about the MAM at that time. This is a little bit about what it costs to consider the MAM. We're happy to talk a little bit more about this if you have specific questions. It is worth noting that this is tuition for the current class of 2019, and we anticipate that as it does every year, tuition and fees will of course increase little by little, and the full tuition package figure would be available a little bit later on next spring. Again, we're very happy to answer questions about how students plan to afford or finance their MAM, and we're happy to give you some some pointers and advice about that as the time comes. And then finally, our application deadlines for this coming year. So the application deadlines you see before you are for the class of 2020. The class of 2019, of course, is already here. So this is for the class of 2020. Our application is now open. We invite you to peruse, get started with an application. Even if you're not sure if you'll eventually submit an application, you may wish to start one and get a little bit familiar with what it means to apply to the program here at Yale. Round 1 deadline is not exactly coming up, but it will be here before you know it. So our first application deadline is in January, followed by our second round deadline in February. And then finally, there is one final deadline in April that you may choose to apply to. And our advice is to apply at the time when you feel you're most ready and feel your application is the best representation of you as an applicant and a future MAM student as it can possibly be. We do have a partnership with some of our global network partner schools that allows students to not only complete their MBA, but to complete their MAM at the same time through a concurrent degree partnership. So we've put the logos of those schools up on this slide here. And if you are not yet an MBA student or your MBA is a 2-year program and you might want to spend that second year here with us, please go ahead and contact your dean or director of your program. And of course, you're always welcome to contact us as well to learn a little bit more about what it means to complete the degree concurrently instead. I think that's it. We are very excited to hear what you have to say and questions that you might have for us. We have about 15 minutes that we've set aside specifically to answer your questions. So hopefully you've already done that by using the chat feature, and we'll answer some of those questions now. Melissa, what's on tap?
Sure. So we've already had quite a few questions coming in.
That's great.
So I'll start with an admissions question for you, Joanne, which is, what is the academic requirement? So for example, for Global Network MBA students, do you need to have an academic average of a B or above, or is there a particular cutoff or score threshold?
Yeah, those are great questions. And the answer is simply no. The more nuanced answer is that we see students who range in academic prowess, from students who wish they had done a little bit better in undergrad to students who have terrific GPAs. And there's so much more to you than just your academic experience. Having said that, that is an important part of the application process. And the MAM program is certainly a rigorous and intense academic experience. So while we don't have specific cutoffs or for scores or for GPAs, we do like to see students who have been successful in the past in an academic setting, which of course for us predicts your ability to be successful here at the School of Management, which again can be a rigorous experience. So nope, there are no cutoffs, same thing for test scores, but what these two pieces of evidence will give us is a better understanding of how you will be able to be successful in the classroom here. We want to set you up for success, so we will look for students who have been successful in the past, those who again maybe have GPAs or scores that they wish were different in retrospect. I invite you to write an optional essay and tell us a little bit about the circumstances behind that.
Great. We also have a question about classes, which is, how many classes can I take? So I'll start by telling you the minimum requirement, although I anticipate that this individual is thinking, there's so many classes I want to take, what's the maximum? So the minimum is our students are required to take 40 units in order to graduate. And one semester-long class is typically 4 units. So you can imagine we're expecting that you will take 10 semester-long classes during the year that you're here, or approximately 5 semester-long classes each semester. We're also on what I would describe as a quarter system. So we have classes that only run half of a semester that are 2 units. So you can see many different compositions of the number of classes that students end up taking to meet that minimum requirement of 40 units. On the other side, many students do choose to take more classes than that. And I don't advise that students take more than 24 units per semester, because you do want to be able to provide adequate attention to each class that you're taking and get the most out of it. But there is the option as well to audit classes, which would be taking a class not for credit or a grade. And that gives you the experience of taking more classes without the pressure of having all of that be grade-based. And so I think our students have a lot of flexibility with the number of electives that they're able to take. And we also have a great advising team here that it can help you to narrow down if you find yourself with dozens of classes that look interesting to you, to find the ones that we think are going to be a great fit for you. So I'll ask Joanne another admissions question. So do you have a quota for admission for applications that come from the same member school within the global network?
Yeah, that's a question we get fairly often. And again, the short answer is no. We have 29 other schools that we accept applications from around the global network. And while there are some schools that have been more heavily represented in one year versus another, we've been lucky enough to see almost every global network school represented over the last several years, which is great. It really adds to the texture and the diversity of the class. So no, we really don't. We try to make it as diverse and interesting a class as possible. So we're excited when we see applications from schools that we don't normally see large numbers of applications from. But no, we don't have a quota for a specific school. The same thing goes for citizenship. The same thing goes for prior industries or functional areas from a work experience perspective. Our job in the admissions office, again, for you as a student, is to put together a class full of really interesting, diverse people who are going to add to your experience, who you're going to learn the most from. And in evaluating your application, we're wondering the same thing about you. What will you bring to the class? What will you be able to offer your students? So as much as you will take away, our expectation is that you're going to give back to the class and to the community as a whole here at SOM. And to have quotas then would really kind of mess that up. So no quotas for schools.
Great. And that actually leads me very well into the next question, which is, I have 15 years of work experience. Can I apply for the program? And so what I would say to you is you need to think about your individual circumstances and also what Joanne just mentioned, which is a large part of the learning here is based on interactions among peers and the contributions that you will make to the classrooms, as well as the contributions that you will receive by studying alongside your peers in the MAM program and the other programs here at the School of Management. So you need to consider whether with the experience that you have, which is greater than our average. So the MAM this year has an average of 6 years of work experience. The class that just graduated last year had an average of 7 years of work experience. But you do find that there's quite a spectrum there, depending on what industry, background, country that a student has come from, whether they worked before their MBA or worked after their MBA and then came to the MAM. Typically, students will come to us either directly after their MBA or perhaps 1 to 2 years after their MBA, but there is some variation there. So I would say consider your own circumstances and whether you feel that you would be challenged by the peer set that you would find here. Consider what your career options would look like after the MAM here and whether you think that we're well positioned to put you in the role that you feel would be next in your career. And then also feel free to reach out to the admissions team and they would be happy to counsel you in your individual circumstances on whether we feel that the program can meet your expectations. So the next question that we have is about scholarships, and I'll turn to Joanne for that. The question is, how much can scholarships be, and what do they depend on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So every single student, just by virtue of applying to the program, is considered for merit-based scholarships. And so we're happy to be able to offer a little bit of scholarship money for incoming MAM students. You don't have to do anything extra. That's the really great news. The application is your application for a scholarship opportunity. So don't do anything extra. There are no extra essays or anything like that that's involved. We will consider each person individually, and almost everybody gets a little bit of something. We do want to try to make this as affordable as possible for students, knowing that, you know, in the American university system includes some pretty high tuition numbers. While we feel like the return on that investment is always going to be good and always going to be worth it, it can certainly feel a little bit scary on the outset, maybe where you're sitting right now. So yes, we do offer some merit-based scholarships, and we'd be more than happy to talk a little bit further about that if you have individual concerns about affording the MAM program. If you are the recipient of a scholarship, you may want to consider what else you have available to you to afford your MAM program here, whether that be loans, family support, or anything in the way of outside scholarships. But we do have a small scholarship budget that we're able to offer students for each year.
A quick question. My school didn't require a test for admission, but I took one anyway. Can I include it? Yes, absolutely. If you feel that that helps us to understand your candidacy better, please feel free to provide that information. But if your school did not require a test, you're not required to submit one to us as well. Also a question, as a part-timer student, I spent time working while attending school. In my application, I probably would mention more about my working experience rather than experiences in academics. Will that be okay? The good news there is there's room for both in the application. There's an academic section where we'll ask you to submit a transcript from every undergraduate and graduate course that you've taken, whether or not it led to a degree. And then there's also a resume section and working experience section where you can elaborate for us on this experience that you had working while pursuing your courses. So I think you'll find that there's enough flexibility and room in the application to highlight both of those experiences that you have. And as a side note, many of our MAM students did take a part-time MBA, so this is a scenario that we're used to seeing in the application process. I'll turn to Joanne for more of a careers-related question. And the question is, what will recruiting be like for careers?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it may be very similar to what you're experiencing now or what you did experience when you were an MBA student, if you happen to be an alum. Recruiting is an intense experience, and we really want you to be as prepared for that as possible. So you actually can expect to hear from our dedicated resource in the Career Development Office here at Yale SOM, who works only and exclusively with our MAM students over the summer. Prior to when you even become a student here at Yale SOM in August, she'll be reaching out to you to encourage you to join her on some virtual calls to learn a little bit more about the recruiting process. She'll probably start to bug you a bit for a resume because we do have ways that we do things here in the US and specifically here at Yale SOM that we think recruiters respond really positively to. So the first piece of this is actually before you even get here, working with our dedicated CDO representative. Her name is Christine. She's really popular with our MAM students. She's a little hard on them to make sure that they get the things that they need to get done, but they are so grateful for her guidance and experience and often cite her as a really incredible resource for them in the recruitment process. Once you get here, you'll learn a little bit more about the recruitment process when recruiters come to visit us, when they do informational sessions, when you can meet with their representatives, how the job process works in terms of when things are posted on our website, and what the timeline is. Typically for MAM students, they're recruiting alongside our MBA second-year students for full-time jobs versus with our first-year students who are primarily recruiting for summer internships. So you'll probably spend a bit more time with our second-year students in that recruitment process. But recruiters often come here to campus to offer information about what it's like to work for that specific company, again, meeting with specific recruiters, perhaps even having to travel for late-stage interviews. So the recruitment process is intense, it's quick, it's fast-paced, but I think the support that we offer here through the Career Development Office and through our dedicated resource, in addition to all of the other staff members that work to support our students' career pursuits, is something that is probably very unique to the MAM program.
Great. We have just a little less than 5 minutes left, but we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we can. A quick question, can I visit campus? We would love to meet you in person here. If you do have plans to be in the New Haven area or even in the New York area, we're a quick about hour-and-a-half train ride away from New York. Just shoot us an email at advance.management@yale.edu, and we'd be happy to try to set up a time to have coffee with you and take you on a tour of our building and meet you in person. A question also about recruiting here. After I finish the MAM, is it hard to stay and work in the U.S.? And I think the correct answer to that is yes, it is challenging to stay and work in the U.S. if you don't currently have work authorization within the U.S. Many of our students will stay for OPT or optional practical training for 1 year after graduation. And after that, they may be entering what we have in the U.S., which is a visa lottery for H-1B visas. With all things immigration, you absolutely should consult an immigration expert about your particular circumstances, but it is important to know that in the U.S., work visas are on a lottery-based system, and they're very competitive to get. And so I think the best advice to someone who is not work authorized in the U.S. Is to pursue a dual strategy, to think about jobs within the U.S. and understand that you're going to have to look for organizations that sponsor and put a lot of effort into that career search, and also think about applying to another global city where you might already have work authorization. So that way you make sure that you're covered in the event that you're not able to obtain a work visa in the U.S. I'll note that the intent of the MAM program is not to bring incredible global diverse students from around the world and all have them come work in the U.S. after graduation. We want you to be global talent working in major cities all over the world. So we will support you on a U.S. job search, but I think it's important to go into it knowing that that will be something that's challenging. ask a question about entrepreneurship to Joanne. It says, is the program good for entrepreneurs?
It's great. It's actually amazing. So I started here at the School of Management about 4 years ago at the exact same time that the entrepreneurship program at SOM just exploded. We hired an assistant dean to oversee entrepreneurship activities here at the School of Management. We've built an incubator and office space down in the garden level of Evans Hall here. We've added about a dozen classes on entrepreneurship that are actually open not only to our School of Management students, but to students throughout Yale University, really diversifying those that are in those classes. And that's just what's here at the School of Management. In addition, we have fellowship opportunities for entrepreneurship, and just the resources that we have just here in the building, including successful entrepreneurs themselves, can be really powerful. That's just here. The rest of the university is open to you, and one of the things that you might consider doing is getting quite involved with something called Sci-City, which is our always been available Center for Entrepreneurship here, but has also exploded in scope and in breadth and in the depths of the opportunities that are available to students to find each other across the university. I think there's actually sort of a hackathon coming up in the next couple of weeks where students can find each other across campus. So somebody who's got an idea, matching up with somebody who's got some talent, and creating opportunities to work together on a new product or a new business or a new opportunity. So I think this is a really exciting and great place to be for entrepreneurship right now, considering all the resources we have not only here, right underneath our feet at the School of Management, but again throughout not only Yale University, but even New Haven as well. It's a really hot spot for entrepreneurship right now. It's been an exciting time in that space here.
Great. And just that quickly, we've come to the end of our time here. So I'll close with a piece of advice for you if you're interested in the MAM program, which is to stay connected with us. We'll be hosting an upcoming webinar with some of our students, a student panel where you'll have a great opportunity to ask our students what their firsthand experience is like. You can ask I see there's many questions we didn't get to, so we can continue the conversation during that webinar. Also, please do reach out to our current students if you'd like us to put you in contact with some alumni from your Global Network School. We'd be happy to help you make connections with people who have walked similar paths to you and help share with you what the MAM experience has been like for them. You can also reach out to the admissions team at advanced.management@yale.edu, and we'd be happy to continue answering your questions. So with that, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you all the best.